I'm Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games. The tea today is Builders. Again, we switched briefly to PG Tips Gold and then PG Tips, and then we're back to Builders with a little bit of Scottish breakfast thrown in for variety. But I think this is back to Builders, since I think I was still doing the PG Tips thing the last time I talked to you, but I don't really remember. Okay, there have been some new things going on here. You may notice this, not the shirt, well, the shirt, but the chair. I got a gaming chair in the hopes that it would help my back for when I'm sitting at the dining room table for a long period of time. Actually, I spend more time playing board games than I do video games, though I have had some long sessions with video games too, but still, the wooden chair and my back just don't get along very well. So we're going to try this, which I just got it yesterday. So I may just slide off the screen at some point or way back, because I've noticed I do not have full control of my vehicle yet. But what I wanted to talk to you about today were some short topics and some small games. This past weekend, we hit some of those button shy games that have just been hanging fire for a while, that Kickstarters that delivered that I hadn't played the games yet. We played, appropriately enough, since it is still kind of wintry, Super Slopes. This is a root building game. You can play it solo, but it's for 1 to 3 players. I think that this game would be good paired with another game we played a couple of weekends back, and that is Skull Canyon Ski Fest. Skull Canyon Ski Fest has a player count of 2 to 4, and this is 1 to 3. So if you can hit that 2 to 3 player sweet spot, this would be a very fast, short filler game. Prior to that, if you wanted to just do a ski themed board game thing, it is root building with special abilities on the roots. Oh yes, and both games have Yetis. Both Skull Canyon Ski Fest and Super Slopes have Yetis. I also got the, see if I can find it here, the Snow Report weather expansion for Super Slopes, and we played a game with that, and we do like the weather expansion. You're not using all the weather cards, you're just using 2 weather cards. So it would be different each time you played, but also some of the weather cards worked out really good. I mean, I was kind of bracing for impact, because I thought, oh, this is an expansion. It's basically gonna screw up the good stuff that we are doing. Because that's what sometimes extra cards do. But no, some of the expansions worked out pretty well for us. It kind of depends upon the specific, some of the cards in the expansion, it kind of depends upon the specific card and when you get it in the game. So yeah, we like this a lot. This would also be, if you were a fan of Button Shy's wallet games, buttonshygames.com. If you're a fan of Button Shy's little wallet games, this would also go well with their solo game in the Simply Solo line, Unsurmountable. They are both root building up snowy peaks, so thematically they're the same, but the gameplay is different. I mean, you would think, well, it's root building up a mountain, how different could it be? But yeah, this actually, I think, has more going on than Unsurmountable. Also, Unsurmountable, you're putting together like a specific tableau building up to a mountain peak. In this game, the card layout that you're building is kind of offset, but also not completely symmetrical, straight up like a mountain peak thing. But we had a lot of fun playing this. This is one we really like. There are some Button Shy games that we like more than others. This one is going to be in the primo list. We enjoyed this a lot. And we followed it by another thing we enjoy, and that is pizza. Pizza Yum Yum. It was released a year ago last a year ago last Thanksgiving. And I'm just now getting it and playing it. But I didn't get it then. I got it during the reprint campaign. But you are cooperatively, with limited communication, building a pizza together. It is a two-player only game. We don't generally like cooperative games with limited communication because that kind of tends to make me feel like, well, it's not really cooperative if you can't put your heads together and figure it out, you know? So, but this one was okay. I think because the game is light, it's rules light, it's simple. You are trying to build a pizza and you have pizza cards in your hand. These down here at the bottom are menu ingredients, and these are the pizza that you're building, and you are contributing to your own pizza and to the other person's pizza. And here's the tricky part, because you don't actually know necessarily what they're going for, what ingredients they're going for, or what menu cards they really want. They can give you one menu card and you can give them one menu card, and then you can choose one menu card for yourself, which is basically the scoring criteria for the pizzas that you've made. And here's the tricky part. You only score the lowest scoring pizza. So yeah, we didn't do nearly as well on this as we had hoped. And we also have the expansion for this, the Spicy Jalapeno expansion, which adds extra cards, which has nifty extra stuff on it. The menu items on these have, they're different. They are done a different sort of way than the menu items, which are just like flat out ingredients on the regular ones. And they also have jalapenos as an ingredient on there, so it's adding yet another ingredient for you to juggle. But we also enjoyed playing this with the expansion, and this is another one that we liked. Of course, the theme. How can you not like the theme? I would suggest playing this with New York Slice, except New York Slice, it's one of those 2-to-something player games, but I don't remember the max player count off the top of my head, but it doesn't really play that well with two. So this would maybe not be a good pairing with New York Slice, but if you wanted a two-player game, and you've got New York Slice and you're going like, well, it doesn't play that well at two. This does play well at two. It's made to play well with two. And it's also co-op, which makes it different from a lot of other competitive pizza games. But we played both of those. We liked them a lot. We also have a stack of Button Shy over here that we did not get to play. One of the things I got in the reprint campaign is we really like Tides. Tides is a beachy themed game, and it is a really good summer Button Shy game. You are crafting various objects out of found stuff. The cards are sort of multi-purpose because the front side of the card are the items that you are using to craft. The back sides of the card are scoring cards, and you see the cards here. This is low tide. The tide is out. A lot of beach is showing, but see now here, this is high tide. The tide is out. The tide is in. Not a lot of beach there. So you have different rounds. You alternate rounds between high tide and low tide. That tide goes out, the tide comes in. The tide goes out, the tide comes in. And at high tide, you can pick up scoring cards. At low tide, you can pick up cards that have ingredient spaces showing. And the scoring criteria on here, you can score your cards at high tide or low tide, either one, but the scoring criteria is different depending upon which round you choose to score. And the points are different. And we already had the Fun in the Sun expansion for it, which adds a few extra cards, which we do like. But this past weekend, we played the new expansion, Buried Treasure, which adds 2 more items to the beach and also new scoring cards on the back. The 2 new items that are added to the beach are gold doubloons, which are wild. And let me tell you, that is so helpful. And also treasure chest. And treasure chest increase your hand limit, which if you've ever had to score something if you've ever had to score something before you were ready to score it, meaning you were going to score it, you were going to score it at high tide and get a whole lot of points for it, but you ended up being forced to score it at low tide because you were right up against that hand limit. Yeah, you're going to want the expansion with the treasure chest in it. You really are, because putting these in your hand, got a hair in my mouth. Hope it's not a dog hair. Having these in your hand, each treasure chest in your hand increases your hand limit by 1. And the gold doubloons are wild. So yeah, having, because it's kind of set collection because you're trying to meet certain specific scoring criteria. But this was good. We played this with the expansion cards, and we like this a lot. I think that this expansion, I feel like the expansion makes the game easier. So if you want a game in which you're right up against it on the hand limit at times, and you can never quite get all of the pieces that you need to score or something, then you don't want this expansion. But because this expansion really does help make those scoring criteria, it really helps a lot, and we enjoyed playing with it. But it may not be for everyone, because I do feel like that having an item that is wild and having cards that increase your hand limit makes the game easier. If you want to make the game harder, this is definitely not the expansion for you, but we enjoyed playing with it. And the next time we play, we played a few games with it, but the next time we play, we didn't roll in Fun in the Sun, and that's going to be next. So like the next time we played, it's going to be the base game and both the expansions, which, I mean, for a small wallet game, you can roll in a ton of expansions and still not make a big mess or make the game just hair-tearingly complicated. That's one of the nice things about really small games, is that you can roll in the expansions and the game remains manageable. You're not going to regret getting those expansions. Unless, of course, you don't like the game, but we love this. Whoa. And finally, last night, not this past weekend, but last night, I was chatting with Jane over at Spill Mill. She had just played a nice cuppa, which I still had not played. It is a solo game from Button Shy, and it is all about drinking a nice cup of tea and banishing your worries. So yeah, that's just, I mean, that's kind of my brand, isn't it? In as much as I have a brand. This might be a good term to say, not a professional content creator. I just hang out and chat about board games with y'all, like in comments and stuff. I also have 2 expansions to a nice cuppa, which I did not roll in last night because, oh man, I lost. I thought, well, I should just go ahead and lay this out and play a game while I'm watching TV. Yeah, that did not go well. I laid out the cards and everything, and I did the thing. It is an easy teach, easy learn, easy to understand game. But that being said, you have got to manipulate the cards, and you've got to and those worry cards will sandbag you. I made a teeny tiny mistake for my first game. And I don't mean in the gameplay. I mean, I thought, well, okay, I kind of know how to play this because I've watched videos on it, so I'll just lay the cards out and I'll run through a game here. And so I did, and I refreshed my memory, looked at the rule book and everything. But what I didn't do is I did not flip through and read all of the stuff on the bottom of the worry cards. This is an 18-card game, and you are not going to be playing with all of the worry cards in one game. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 worry cards. And there's going to be a few that's going to be set aside because you're only going to play with the same number of worry cards as you have making tea cards. with the lovely artwork. And when you are distracted, see the artwork goes all brown and sepia. 6, 7. See, yeah, there's only 7 of the T cards and there are 10 of the worry cards. So in any given game, there will be 3 of them that's not in there. And there's also a reference card in case you're thinking, wow, that math doesn't add up to 18. But yeah, there's a reference card too. So I didn't look at the cards. I kind of knew the sort of stuff that was on the bottom of the cards that you would be doing in each turn. And I was doing really well. I mean, I was laying those things out and moving them around, and I thought, oh, wow, this is really easy. And then I got kind of toward the end of the game, and because I hadn't looked at these cards, I mean, you're not supposed to look at the cards that you're actually playing with before you lay them down and turn them over, but I mean, I hadn't thumbed through the deck and read the cards to see what possible horrible thing could be turning up when I turn over a card. So man, I turned over, I was 2 or 3 cards from the end, and I turned over a card and I'm going like, oh, that's going to be a problem. I might be able to mitigate that, like in the next round or the round after. And then I turn over the next card and I'm going like, yeah, there's no way. I'm totally out at this point. But yeah, there are 2 expansions I want to play with. A good book, which sounds very nice, and seasonal stresses, which sound maybe not so nice. Well, it looks like holiday stresses. So maybe not quite right since we're past Christmas, but I will give it a try. But I enjoyed it. I liked the gameplay. I found the flow of the game to be very satisfying, very easy. It's like you lay the things out, you turn the things over, you move this, and you take that out. And I mean, it goes click, 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 click. And I really liked it a lot. There are certain button shy games in which the card play just feels good. And this is one of them. The only thing that can make this game better is if I could play it in my hand like numbsters. But on the other hand, laying out 2 lines of cards and getting a nice cup of tea, that's very nice and relaxing. This is not thematically the kind of game that you want to walk around or sit and just always have in your hand. It's the kind of game that you just kind of want to step back, lay the cards out, sit down, and drink tea. And so, yeah, a nice cuppa is rocketing up my list of button shy solo games I really like. And like I said, we've still got some more games we haven't played. One of the other things I wanted to go over with you today is I promised to talk about the BGA games, board game arena games I have been playing. This is games played in January, kind of overlapping into February, because one of my New Year's resolutions was to play Board Game Arena more. And it does seem like it's taking this time, that I'm really starting to click with it. I have now played spots, both solo and with multiple players. A lot of the games have been 2 players with Jimmy. Hi, Jimmy. On Board Game Arena, and Jimmy and I have now gone through all the alternate sets. And some of those are hair-raising, like, of course, also, because it is a dice-chucking game, part of the reason why some of the other sets, the layouts for the dog tricks are kind of hair-raising is that you have this set of things that you can do, and you're rolling the dice, and the dice are going like, well, that does not work well with that at all. So yeah, that's kind of a thing. So it does have a lot of luck in it, but there is a little bit of strategy too. I would still call it light. It plays well on your phone, and that's something that I'm going to note as I run down this list, because there are some Board Game Arena games that have just too much going on the tiny little screen for you to play this comfortably on your phone and really feel good about it. But spots can be played on your phone. It does well. I also have played a ton of Yahtzee solo, just trying to just trying to get good scores, basically. It seems like it declares all of them victories when I'm looking at that number and I'm going like, clearly that game was not a victory in anybody's book by any metric. So I don't know what that is, but one nice thing about Yahtzee, my hair is sticking out. One nice thing about Yahtzee on Board Game Arena is that if you're new to Board Game Arena, you start off with 75 karma. And if you play solo games or fast real-time games or something like that, every completed game gives you 1 karma point. So you can get your karma up to 100 very quickly. And having that high perfect number for karma is a good thing, because when players are looking at whether or not they want to play a game with you, they want somebody that's going to finish their games, that's going to have a good karma rating. And I mean, 75 when you start off is still technically good. It's characterized as good. But on the other hand, if you have a choice between playing with somebody whose karma rating is in the 70s and playing with someone whose karma rating is 100%, so yeah, there are a number of solo games and fast short games that you can play so that you can knock out a lot of games real quickly and level up your karma. And playing Yahtzee solo is one of those ways that I did that. I got a really good score the other day. So I'm continuing to hone my Yahtzee skills. It's just something that I just click and roll the dice, like, just when I've just got a minute or two, because it goes so fast. I have also played Railroad Inc. on the table, on the phone app, and on Board Game Arena. So I've got 3 very different experiences, actually, of playing Railroad Inc. Railroad Inc., the phone app, something that you should be aware of is it is not the same game that you will be playing on the table or on Board Game Arena. It has different scoring criteria and different dice, even if you're using the blue set, the base game set. So if you're going to get the phone app and think, I'm going to hone my skills on the phone and then go into Board Game Arena and mop up, yeah, that may not happen. Not saying you're not going to like the phone app. You just need to be aware, as I was not, that the phone app has very different scoring criteria. I mean, the placement rules are the same, but the scoring criteria is different, and there's more of it. And the dice, you have different dice thrown in there, including some dice that make things substantially harder. So that's something to keep in aware with the phone app. Now, on Board Game Arena, the game plays like it does on the table. And we've been playing it a bit more on the table, and I played it solo and with 3 players and with 4 players on Board Game Arena. I am still really stunningly not good at this. I enjoy the route building, but I have trouble visualizing what I need to do. And also, because you're rolling dice, you can't always get what you need to finish up what you want to do. But it will play very, very well on your phone on Board Game Arena. And I played Draftosaurus. I have played Draftosaurus on Board Game Arena. We've played it on the table, only with 2 players, and we enjoyed it, despite being warned that it's no good at 2. It's fine at 2. The only problem with playing it at 2 players is that you know what dinos are being passed back and forth to some extent, because both players discard a dino and place a dino on their turn. But you still kind of know what dinos are coming around next. On Board Game Arena and in a 4 to 5 player game around the table, you really don't know what you're about to be handed to place. So that's a lot of fun. But yeah, I've played it at 4 and 5 player. It plays very well on the phone, on the phone on Board Game Arena. I enjoy that a lot. It also plays very, very fast. Draftosaurus is fast on the table, but it's even faster if you're playing it real time on Board Game Arena. You could knock out a Draftosaurus game real time, even faster than a Draftosaurus game on the table, I think, because it calculates your score for you, and it like click instantly gives you the new dinos you've got to place. I like it a lot. It looks good on Board Game Arena, and it's good on the phone. Splendor. I've been playing a lot of Splendor on Board Game Arena because this is a classic game, and we've played it with, I think, 2, 3, 4 players, like a wide player count on the table, but not very often. And we don't play it often enough for me to really get good at it, to look at it and go, okay, this is one of those card crafting, engine building games, and you get more of this to get more of that and all that. And I don't play it often enough for me to, when I sit down and play it, I go, right, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that, to have that strategy locked in of exactly what I should be doing on each and every turn with the changing game state of the cards up there. But so I kind of felt like I want to play this more on Board Game Arena. So that maybe I can get good at it, so that I can play it often enough so that when it hits the table, I'll have this kind of strategy locked into my head. But what's actually happening on Board Game Arena is that when I look at it, it's going like, oh, I was going to do that, but oh, I think I should get this card instead. Because, it's like a longer time period passes between turns if you're playing it asynchronously on Board Game Arena instead of in real time like on a table. So if you're doing it turn-based on Board Game Arena, I have time to second guess myself. So I'm actually making worse decisions. But on the other hand, I'm really enjoying playing it on Board Game Arena a lot, and it plays well on the phone. You don't have to have a larger tablet or a laptop screen. And that's kind of important because when you set up a game or join a game with someone, there are different time periods that you can play asynchronously. Well, you can play real time, but you would need to set up a time period to play that game with someone. But if you're playing turn-based, it could be one move every 2 days, or you could set it for one move every day, or you could set it for 2 moves every day, or a no time limit friendly game. So there are different time limits that you can have for games on Board Game Arena. And so with Splendor, it plays really well on the phone, but the time period that passes gives me time to second guess myself. And there was something else I was going to say, and I don't remember what it was, but I'm enjoying it a lot. Another game I have been playing a fair amount and have introduced some of my friends to on Board Game Arena is Martian Dice. This was Scott Alm's first game, as I understand it, and he is trying to get it back into print. There's a thread on BGG, Board Game Geek, about Martian Dice potentially coming back into print like any year now. But it is just a dice-chucking game where you're playing as aliens trying to abduct humans, chickens, and cows from Earth. It is a lot of fun. It plays very, very quickly. It is a good game to play real time on Board Game Arena because it plays very, very fast. Also, because you can see the other player making the dice roll and choosing the dice and making the dice roll of the remaining dice and choosing the dice and making the dice roll and going bust and not being able to do all the things they wanted to do, get all the stuff. You can also pick up on how it plays and minor strategy points on it by watching the other players take their turn. It will play a fair number of players. I have played it with 2 players and 3 players on Board Game Arena. I've also played Welcome To on Board Game Arena. It is getting harder to find as the real game on the table. The Welcome To on Board Game Arena is the original game, not the collector's edition in terms of the scoring stuff. It plays well on your phone. You might be slightly more comfortable on it with on a tablet. But I can play it okay on my phone. I have played it solo and I have played it with a couple of players. So, or one player. Yeah, I've played it at 1 and 2 players, I think. So, no, actually, yeah, 1 and 2 players here. I've got my notes. So, Welcome To is a roll and write game, actually a flip and write game. Cartographers is another flip and write game that is on Board Game Arena. I have mixed feelings about how well this does on the phone. I have played it solo, 2-player, and 5-player, and it plays well on Board Game Arena, but I find that the point and click and inching the pieces up and turning them, putting them into place on my phone to be a little fiddly. So what you might want to keep in mind for this and some of the other games that I'm mentioning here is that they might be easier if you had a somewhat larger screen than your phone. You can zoom on your phone and do that, but so it is playable on your phone. But I think that for cartographers, you might enjoy it better if you at least had a screen that was tablet size, like an e-reader or an iPad or something. For a shuffle, do not play this on your phone. It's a great game to play on Board Game Arena because it does all of the scoring for you, and it will even tell you as the game is in progress what your scoring numbers look like for particular cards, so that you know whether or not this card, whether or not you're getting all of the stuff. You're going like, oh wow, I really have not done well with that card. I need to add more stuff here. You know, so you can, it's like, and I definitely need another bird. So it will tell you, like you can look at cards, click on them or mouse over, I can't remember now which, and it will tell you how many points that card is currently scoring for you. So it will even map it out as the game is in progress. And it does all that scoring stuff at the end, which is just, oh wow. For a Shuffle is a wonderful game, but the final scoring is very mathy. You have to keep track of what you're doing and adding up certain things and going tree by tree and then going animal by animal, and the scoring is not pleasant on the table. It's just a little bit of a pain in the neck, but Board Game Arena handles all of that. So this game is excellent on Board Game Arena, but on your phone, you got all those cards and they are like about that big. And I actually made a mistake because I mistook what one of the cards was. I mistook one of the fir trees for another fir tree. So yeah, it would be better to play on a tablet or a screen. So when you're setting up a game or joining a game with Board Game Arena, make sure that you'll be able to take your turns in a timely fashion on an appropriately sized screen. But yes, I like For a Shuffle, and I think Board Game Arena is a really good way to play the game. Though I do really like seeing like that whole ecosystem spread out on the table. There is something very satisfying about that until you just try to score it and then you're going like, oh wait, let me start over again. Did I count that? I don't know if I counted that. I thought I did. So yeah. You can play with the Alpine expansion on Board Game Arena, and I have done that. But there's another expansion that is, I think it was released at Essen, but is not in the US yet for a Shuffle, and I don't think it's on Board Game Arena yet, but I didn't actually look. And I think it's called Woodland Edge or something. Terraforming Mars. Okay, don't play this one on your phone. If you want to play Terraforming Mars, still the best way to play it is the phone app or the app on Steam. Because Terraforming Mars on Board Game Arena, what they did is they took the giant sprawling mess of a tabletop board game and they adapted it for digital play. But it still looks and does, it's just as chunky and everything on the screen as it is on the table. You have full cards rather than like little card squares that you have on the app and on Steam. And you move this and do that, and I just found it really awkward. And to make things worse, I played it on my phone. Don't do that. Don't play Terraforming Mars on your phone. I played it solo because I wanted to get a look at it before I played it with anybody. I think I need to, and after that, I took it off my favorites list because I'm going like, wow, I am never playing this on Board Game Arena again because the Steam app and the phone app are so much better. But if you want something that looks and feels just like playing it on the table, Board Game Arena is much closer to the tabletop experience than the phone app is. But I need to try it again solo on a larger screen. I think I might like it better, but it was still kind of a shock because I was expecting something that looked and played like the phone app and the Steam app, and it does not. It does look different. Everything works, and I think that it probably will be good on there if I can just get it on a big enough screen. But yeah, playing it solo on your phone, don't do that. It's not the most pleasant way to play the game. And if you really love the game, you're going to want a game playing experience that feels good. So yeah, I have played Azul at 3-player a number of times on Board Game Arena. It plays really well on Board Game Arena, and it plays really well on your phone on Board Game Arena as well. I have played Fox in the Forest 2-player. I think I played that on my phone, and I don't recall having any problems. The phone app is also good for Fox in the Forest. It is a 2-player trick-taking game, but it's been, actually, I think I played that right at the beginning of the year, like, oh wow, probably about 6 weeks ago. So my memory of that may be a little hazy, but I'm kind of remembering that it was okay. So that's what I've been up to on Board Game Arena. I have just been a game playing fool. And here's the thing, I am not good at board games. And I feel like that playing asynchronously on Board Game Arena makes me even worse at board games. There is a little note app where you can make a note of what you planned on doing on your next turn and what's going on in the games, particularly if you're playing more than one game, so that when you go into the game to make your move, you'll see the note and you'll be able to say, oh yeah, this and this, and I got that, and I was planning on doing this next. Yeah, but then you got to stick to the plan, which I don't do on Splendor. So yeah, it is, I do enjoy playing on Board Game Arena. I'm playing a lot, but I am not playing well because I tend to make my moves quickly, even on the table, and I make them even more quickly on Board Game Arena, even though there may be a day between moves. So that is a thing. I don't play well, but the whole point of playing is play games, have fun. And so as long as I'm still having fun, I'm going to keep hanging out on Board Game Arena. And you may have noticed that these games are all fairly light and fast, and that's because essentially I am trying to get myself into the habit of playing Board Game Arena, into the habit of having games that are going to be coming up for turns every day or a couple of times a day or something like that, and just basically get into the habit of doing that. Although, as I said, some games don't play well on my phone, and so I've got a list of favorites, and those are games I already know how to play. That's what I put on my favorites list, and I'm working my way through them either as solo games or with other people so that I can kind of see how they play on a phone-size screen versus, say, an e-reader screen or a laptop or something like that. And I'm leveling myself up to harder, longer games. Although actually I'm playing a longer game right now. I'm playing Ticket to Ride Europe with 5 players. So yeah, that's going to go for a few weeks. Not necessarily a harder game per se, but definitely one of the longer ones, especially compared to something like Draftosaurus or Martian Dice. Both of which I highly recommend simply because they have very, very high levels of fun and can be played real time with very, very high levels of fun. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. And coming up this weekend, we are going to Pelican down in Galveston. And this will be my first board game convention. And this is the first big board game convention in the greater Houston area. So yeah, That's going to be interesting. I will see what that is like. I don't have super high hopes because it is the very first Peloton convention, so I figure there's probably going to be some glitches somewhere because this is the first time the organizers have done this. But it looks fine. I'm looking at all the stuff online. We have got our badges. We dithered about whether or not to get a single day Saturday badge or get a full weekend badge. And since we're not planning on watching the Super Bowl or going to a Super Bowl party, I don't think any of our friends are having Super Bowl parties this year. We would probably just be sitting at the table on Sunday playing board games anyway. So we've gotten a full 3-day badge for it. I'm not sure if we're going to do Friday or not, but we will, unless something happens that prevents us, we will be there on Saturday and probably Sunday as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. They don't expect me to report about all of the new amazing hot games I played. I'm probably going to report on old amazing stone cold games I played because the game library, they don't have a hot games room. The game library is mostly older games. The only newish game that I remember seeing was Wormspan. And I'm not planning on playing it because it's kind of longer. And so I'm sort of looking at the game library. There is a list. It's not a huge game library, but there is a list. And I'm looking at the games in the game library. And I think I'm going to go for games that are less than an hour to play, or an hour or less or something like that. And maybe a little more than that. It kind of depends upon, the flow of things when I get there and what other people are playing. But I think I would rather play a whole bunch of shorter games than just one or two long games, particularly when you consider that you have to factor in the time spent learning the game in addition to the playtime. So I'm probably not going to do Wormspan, though that is a newish game. But I probably will play. My goal is to play games I've never played before, games I know about but have never played before, of which there is a huge number. I've mentioned this before, there are a lot of classic, really well-known games that I've never played. In fact, some of them I've never even seen. But that just kind of speaks to my board gaming isolation. Yeah, I will be talking about games we have never played before after Peloton. So that's going to be fun. I'm a little bit nervous about it because, as I said, I'm not good at board games. I just like to play them. And I know that there's going to be a lot of local folks that are going to be bringing games and checking games out. Actually, a lot of them are talking about bringing their own games from home because the board game library is only so-so. And there's going to be a lot of people from the chatter on the local Discord. There's going to be a lot of people on in the open play area. And that's my one concern about the convention, is that most of the tables are for tournament games. There will be some collectible card games, learn to play games, which are games that I either don't want to learn to play or already know how to play, or play to win games, which of those there's only one I would like to learn to play and play on the table, and I'm not sure because it is one of the somewhat longer games. Obsession is in the play to win category, but there are scheduled games for tournaments, learn to play, and play to win. There are basically assigned tables for all of those games. And most of the convention's tables are assigned to those. The open tables free play area for the games that are in the game library is actually fairly small and limited compared to all of the tables in the convention. It is definitely a play-oriented con, but it is a play-oriented con that is strongly oriented towards scheduled ticketed games that you would sign up for in advance. And since we've never done this before, I don't want to, and we don't know people that are going to be there, I don't want to commit myself to a whole bunch of scheduled games, particularly since it would be games that I would be learning as I play too. And so I think we're probably just going to do like the other local gamers and raid the games library or bring stuff from home. My plan is to stuff well, I've already got my quiver case stuffed with a bunch of card games. I think I'm going to swap a few things out and take my quiver case of card games with me, because that is that is a small, easy to handle case that would not be too problematic to lug around. And I will stick some of those pop together plastic bit bowls that, lay flat when they're unpopped, and a dice tray, because those will come in handy for games that we check out. I'm going to slip some of those into, I guess, my purse or another bag or something. So those are the only things I'm planning on taking. Uh, if you have any advice for first time local convention games, I'd be happy to hear stuff about games and board game convention stuff in the comments, because I don't know what I'm doing. But it's been good sitting around the table chatting with y'all. And I will see y'all next time around the table after Peloton. Bye.